Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Meet the Wizard with Thierry Weber, a partner at Vivactis, Switzerland. Hi again, Thierry.
Hello.
I'm very happy to have you again. And we had the first episode on medical education, and now we will talk about marketing, which is a big word for meaning a lot of things. And when it comes to life sciences and the pharma industry, this word can cover a lot of aspects. And I would love to talk with you about it. Could you, first of all, define what is to you a great marketing strategy and one we have to take in mind when we want to build one?
Sure. For me, well, obviously it's a value-added strategy with differentiated channels that are used and implemented in the strategy. And as a scientific communications agency, selling our services to the industry, the pharmaceutical, biotech, medtech, diagnostics, etc., life science industry, I think that the scientific part and the medical education part of the marketing strategy is highly important. And this is why at Vivactis, we only hire marketers who have a dual marketing as well as life science background. We even prefer to hire people who've got a life science background because we believe that it's easier to train scientists to marketing than the other way around. So that's how I see personally marketing in the healthcare and life science sectors.
Interesting. As a former marketer myself, I totally agree with you. And I know that the marketing is more complex than most people understand. I mean, you have a lot of people that think that marketing is about advertisement and is about communication, but very few people see all the background work, which is clearly the main part of marketing, like the competitive analysis, the positioning, the brand identity. And this is not communication. This is the background matter that will establish the life of the company. So did you see, do you have the same feeling about it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, what we do when we do marketing at Vivactis is that we, of course, apply the basics of marketing, general marketing, of course, and we use them every day. We do a lot of positioning work, a lot of market analysis and stuff like that. So all the basics of marketing. However, what makes, I believe, life science marketing different is first of all, the area in which we use those marketing tools, so life science, healthcare, also the regulations in place in the local countries in Europe. We are mainly active in Europe, so we have to deal, when we do marketing in Europe, with all the local regulations. You cannot do the same type of marketing when you sell a product in Italy as you would in Germany. And that's not only because culturally it's different, but it's also because the regulations are different. So we have to take into consideration those aspects as well. So the regulatory aspects as well. So all this to say that if you are an expert in marketing, but you don't know all these specificities of life science marketing, you will not succeed.
Yeah, hence I understand better the first sentence you said, that you prefer to have a physician or a scientist than a marketer and just train them into marketing. That makes sense.
Yes. Yes. And
do you feel that you have to face obstacles when you talk with your clients about establishing this strategy? Because from what I hear from what you are saying, this seems very logical, and it should be a must have for any company that is launching a product or that is launching its activity. And yet we see reluctances. So do you see that in your everyday business?
You know, it's very strange because what we see in the market is that very large pharmaceutical companies, for instance, tend to work with very large communications agencies.
Mm-hmm.
We are a medium-sized scientific communication agencies, medium-sized for one of the largest, only specialized in healthcare, I would say, but still, when compared with very large groups of communication, we are much smaller than them. So surprisingly, these large corporates in the pharmaceutical sector, they prefer to go for these large communications group. I say surprisingly because very often these large groups, you know, one day they would sell a car or a dishwasher, and then the other day they would sell a pharmaceutical product. It doesn't work like that for me. I mean, as a physician myself, I believe that if I see someone in my practice who actually, you know, doesn't know the scientific background of the product, I'm going to be annoyed very quickly. So, so to answer your question, it really varies from one customer to another. That they get the fact that yes, they have to dialogue with experts of the life science sector only, instead of working with non-specialized agencies, even if they have a very successful track record of selling large-scale products, etc.
Interesting. And I mean, since you have a large array of clients, from institutions to companies, is there, I mean, NGOs and institutions also have to position themselves on the market to have a very unique talk about themselves. Do they understand the importance of positioning themselves?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's always a question of resources within the organization. Should it be an industry player? Should it be an NGO or a healthcare center? Some people get marketing, some don't.
Yeah.
So, you know, it really varies from the person we are dialoguing with. But what I can say is, yes, we've done some repositioning work with a very, very strong marketing approach for NGOs. Mm-hmm. And yes, they were interested, and yes, they understood the value of what we were saying to them, you know, modestly, but they understood it, they got it. And for us, it's very rewarding because you would tend to think that these stakeholders do not get marketing, but it's not true. Everyone gets marketing. Even physicians themselves, what do they do in Absolutely. Their daily activity? I mean, they kind of convince their patients to take a drug or to have a surgery, and they convince their patients. So what do they do when they convince their patients? They convince them that A, they're a good doctor. Secondly, that the product they are recommending is the best one because they selected it. So they are doing marketing. And by the way, when I work with physicians in the marketing field, I'm always impressed how quickly they get it. They get marketing basics very, very quickly.
Interesting. So it means that they have a businessman approach as well. They are not only physicians, but they know they have to run their business. So
more and more, yes, because they have a lot of pressure from the health authorities, a lot of pressure on their costs. So they need to find ways of making a business of their activity in order to keep their revenue. Otherwise, they decrease their revenue due to the pressure of the healthcare authorities.
And do you think the fact that the digital marketing is a very strong tool right now, and the fact that we are more exposed also digitally, makes them more keen to adopt a marketing strategy?
Yes, yeah, of course, because digital tools are new, not new anymore, but they were new tools that everyone is implementing into their own into their own marketing strategies, if I can say so. If I take the example of a physician, well, the patient electronic file is a way for them to increase their, sorry for saying that, but productivity, the productivity of their practice, to see more patients in a day than they would if they had to fill in the paper form after every patient. Because now these electronic files can be managed, at least for some parts of it, by an assistant.
Yeah,
or they can dictate it directly into the electronic patient file. So, these tools, these digital tools, have managed to improve the process, provided they are well used and provided they are not gadgets, and provided these tools are user-friendly, then they get integrated into the marketing flow. And this is when marketing becomes omni-channel marketing.
Absolutely. Very interesting. And it's good to see that the stakeholders of the life sciences world are more and more understanding the importance of marketing, because it always has been important, but it took time for the decision makers to understand that they have to include it in their budget and in their strategy, but not as a nice to have and a very nice option, but as a must have in their basics. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I also observe that the reluctance is going down, and people understand that they have to be very strong in marketing wise. They have to have a strong positioning. We have more and more stakeholders, so you have to be very much differentiated, and this is part of the marketing. So it's not advertisement, it's what is in the back. And yeah, I'm glad to hear from you that you see a change, a shift towards a wider acceptance of that in terms of marketing. That's really interesting and encouraging. Do you have a take-home message about the marketing, about for people that are just maybe for startups, for instance, that are starting right now to set up their budget and maybe put marketing aside?
Yeah, the big mistake which almost 100% of startups that we follow at Vivactis make is to think about marketing too late in the pre-launch process of their products. So if the take-home message, particularly to small structures, is to think about marketing, I would say at least a year before the launch. But if already you manage to, when I say you, startuppers, you manage to think about it like 6 months before the launch, it's already a good sign that you have understood the importance of marketing. But in most cases that we see around us, when we follow life science startups, is a full underestimation of the work that's required when you need to do some positioning, some competitive analysis, some marketing strategies, sales strategies as well, which I fit into the bucket of the market launch from a marketing perspective. Distribution strategy also. Don't start to think about distribution like a few weeks before the launch. No, don't do that, please.
Absolutely.
So you have to, you have to plan those things long enough, and unfortunately, sorry for saying that, but you also have to plan the budgets. And for startups, if you go and see investors, because this is probably as usual for startups, one of your main activities. But if you go to investors and show them a robust marketing plan, I can tell you that they will look at you in a different way than they would if you came with no marketing plan at all. Because most of these investors come from the business world, and they know how important the marketing planning is in the process,
and how costly it will be. So they know that if you come with a budget that doesn't include marketing, they know for sure that the budget is wrong.
Absolutely.
Amazing, fantastic.
So,
Thank you
yeah.
very much, Thierry, for this very insightful aspect of the marketing. We will meet again for a third episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yael, and
Thank you.
goodbye, everybody.